There we go. Yep, that should be our first shot.
We're on.
All right. So, good afternoon. I'm really, really proud this afternoon to get to introduce one of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life. My name is Stephen Bundy, and I'm a peer specialist at the Pueblo VA Clinic. And today I'm interviewing Sergeant Major retired Howard Massingill, who I happen to serve with in the 10th Special Forces Group. Howie, welcome.
Thanks, Steve. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here this
Thanks
afternoon.
for asking me to come here. It's really humbling to sit here and tell your story, but thank you.
Well, you've got some stories. You're welcome. I'm super excited.
Okay.
I know some of this, you're probably going to tell me some stuff I've probably never heard, but I've heard a few of your stories.
But you have heard a few.
Yep.
Yes, you have. And they're always fun to relive, even though as time goes on, they get a little foggier. So you just kind of embellish a little bit and keep on going.
Yep. Well, so the way we're going to do this, we're just kind of going to go through your life.
Okay.
We're going to start with your childhood, go through your time in service, and then afterwards. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. Where'd you grow up, Howie?
Well, I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, long, long time ago in 1959. And I had an awesome childhood. Okay. If, we always talk about if you could go back and do anything else. If I could go back and be 10 or 11 years old again, I would love it, because my childhood, even though we moved a lot, and I did go to 7 different schools from the first grade to graduating high school in 1978. We always talk about how you have back in the 60s and 70s, you have a free range childhood. We were free range. My brothers and I, we just ran around all over the place.
Yeah.
We were always having fun. One of the highlights of my childhood was where we lived on a 700-acre farm. 400-acre farm. And, from the time we left until in school in the morning until the sun set, and after that, we were just always running around, either at school or at home, doing our farm chores or, out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And being out in the woods is one of the things that I still love to do, along with my brothers. But, just that childhood where, we weren't tied down to computers and stuff like that. It was just, come in when it's dark. And I watched something the other day that was kind of funny. Back when I was growing up, we just had 3 channels. Okay. So on the 3 channels, right before the evening news, they would always have this little thing. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And it's like, oh man, that's right. I've got kids. Let me go check on them because they're out, playing army in the woods or doing whatever. So my childhood was awesome. I adored my grandparents. And I would just love to spend time with them. I had great parents. Now my mom is still alive.
Okay.
But my mom and dad were awesome parents, and they had their hands full with me and my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How many brothers?
So I've got 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
My sister being the youngest. And we were just always out doing stuff that boys do, and I can say the fact that we're all still alive is nothing short of a miracle. Because we would do stuff that I think if my mom and dad knew that we had done it, we would be grounded for life.
Mm-hmm.
But, my childhood was awesome. Like I say, I was born in Chattanooga, but we would spend a lot of time in North Georgia. I would spend summers with aunt and uncles in Texas, back and forth. So anyway, just a great childhood that when you see people on TV going, oh, my childhood's rotten. It's like, I can't say that. Mine was great. I loved every day of my childhood. And if I could go back to Boynton Elementary School and stuff like that, that would be great. And in fact, a lot of my friends that I have back then, thanks to Facebook, we reconnect, and I talked to a lot of guys. I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade together, and we relive all these. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? So my childhood was great. One of the things that I vividly remember about my childhood, though, is when I was, again, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, in those impressionable years, was the Vietnam War going on.
Okay.
And in the Vietnam War, you would always see on TV, stories about the Green Berets. Okay. And then John Wayne had his movie when I was, I think, 9, 10 years old when I saw it the first time.
Mm-hmm. The Green Berets.
The Green Berets.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to do.
I remember the poster in the dining facility.
You do, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's still there.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's still there. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, and I've got a few John Wayne posters in my little man cave in my house too. One of them, a couple of them from the Green Berets. But that movie, like a lot of guys from my generation, a lot of my peers that I served with, it had a remarkable impact on us. It really did,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that's what I want to do with my life, So the way there was not necessarily a straight line, but I did get there sooner or later.
To becoming a Green Beret.
To becoming a Green Beret.
Mm-hmm.
After graduating high school in 1978, I tried my hand at college at Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And that first year really didn't work out that well. Okay. I was probably a little too immature for college at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my dad, in his wisdom, said, sign up for ROTC because you never know. You can always, join the Army. He was speaking prophetically then.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know it, but he was.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Jacksonville State after a year, had a couple of jobs, and got married to my wife, Karen, who is still my wife 42 years later. She's put up with a lot. She gets a lot of credit for a lot of stuff, as all military wives do. But I had someone that I worked with that had been in the 82nd.
Okay.
So he was like, oh, we always have all these, he would always tell these war stories or, airborne stories or stuff like that. And it's like, I got to get some of those stories. So I joined the Army in 1981.
Okay.
October 8th. I went to the recruitment center in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, which I drive by there when I go to visit family, and it's not there anymore. Okay. But I know the spot. I know the corner in that old shopping center where I joined. And I took the ASVAB, scored relatively well, and they wanted me in military intelligence, wanted me to do some MI stuff. And I'm like, no, I want to be a Green Beret and jump out of airplanes. So they go, but we're going to give you bonus money. So they waved some money in front of me and ended up going the MI route. And did that for the first few years. And then went to my first overseas, or my first duty assignment in Italy. Italy was great. Both of our kids were born over there.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter Michelle and my son Matt, they were both born in Italy. And then after 3 years there, I'm kind of like, this is cool, but it's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when I re-enlisted for jump school with an assignment at the 82nd Airborne Division. And came back from Italy in 86, went straight to Fort Benning, learned to jump out of airplanes, and reported to 1st Battalion 505th Infantry Regiment in the 82nd.
What year was that?
86.
86.
1986.
Okay.
Yep. So then I would do that and still wanted to be a Green Beret. All right. And when I tell this story, people are like, there's no way that happened. But it did. And I'm going to tell you what it was. This was before SFAS and all that cool stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
At lunch one day, I got in my car and I drove down to the SWIC, Special Warfare Center, recruiting office. I said, I want to be a Green Beret. And he goes, okay, you got a physical? Or no, let me back up. I told him my name, and he goes, yeah, I've seen your name. Did you send us a physical in a packet? I said, yes, I did.
Okay.
He goes, okay, because I do recognize your name. I said, so you've seen it? And he goes, yes. And he opens up this closet, all right? And in this closet, there's like shelves of packets. And he goes, if you find yours, you're in. Well, I found it. Okay. So the guy goes, okay, good. What do you want to be? I said, well, I want to be a Bravo. I want to be a weapons guy.
Yep.
Who don't, you know? He goes, yeah, we don't need Bravos. I goes, what do you need? He goes, well, we need camo guys. And I'm like, I don't want to be a camo guy. I want to be a Bravo. I want to be the guy with the guns all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see how this plays out in my life a little later on.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the guy goes, look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to be a Bravo, you can walk out that door and never come back. If you want to be an Echo, you can sign here and you start on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
This was on a Tuesday. And he goes, I start on Monday? He goes, yeah. So I said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be an Echo and show me where to sign. So anyway, I went back to my platoon sergeant and I said, hey, I need to out-process because
I'm going to Special Forces.
I'm starting the Q course on Monday. And he's like, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I really am. Okay, I just came back from the SF recruiter. He said, I'm starting on Monday for me to out-process the 82nd. And I need to start doing that now because this is Tuesday and I got to report on Monday. And he's like, no way. Well, you know, it's amazing how fast things worked, even in the pre-computer age, right? Remember, you would have the mil-per messages, and they'd roll up on these big teletypes. So here comes the S1 NCO coming in, and he's like, hey, Sergeant Massingill, he's like starting the Q course on Monday. And I'm like, oh, just so. So he goes, he needs to come get his out-processing papers for the 82nd. I didn't have to out-process Fort Bragg because I was staying there.
Yep.
But I still had to out-process the 82nd.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a whirlwind out-processing. You know, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and at the following Monday, I started the Q course. Being an 18 Echo, the first thing you had to do was Morse code.
Okay.
So they called it AMIC, Advanced International Morse Code. And we did that, and you had to reach, I believe, it was 15-15, 15 sending, 15 receiving. So I passed that and went to phase one. Like I said, this was pre-SFAS.
Mm-hmm.
So they take about 700 of us out to Camp McCall that day. We're all in this big, huge formation, right? They say we have 700 of you here. We only have room for about half of you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to McCall Airfield, and we're going to run around the airfield until half of you quit. They were not lying.
No.
And you had to be able to reach out and touch the guy in front of you. If further than that, then you had fallen out and they would come get you. So anyway, we ran probably till about midnight. And we got there at about 4 or 5.
I was going to say, like,
yeah, we ran a long time in that ankle deep sand that is at McCall Airfield. So then after they fill up all the deuce and a halves and get their required number of quitters, we ran back to the barracks area, the cantonment area, and we went to bed. We got up at about 4 that morning to the Ballad of the Green Berets, started land nav, and started phase 1 of the Q course. And did that, did phase 1, did phase 2, which was a lot of fun. Commo in phase 2, you go back and you have to re-verify your Morse code. So we had to do 1515 again after being 4 weeks in the field. And then you had to bump that up, I think, to 1818. So you do that. And then we started all the commo theories and radios and antenna building, stuff like that. Okay. Phase 3, which was Robin Sage, back out in the woods again, which when I talk about things like phase 1 and phase 3 and stuff like that, that never bothered me because I loved being in the woods.
That's what you did growing up?
That's what I did growing up. You know, it was in Boy Scouts. We'd always go camping, always going hiking.
Yep.
It was like, this is fun to me.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the little added, you know, now you're camping with guns or you're hiking with guns.
Yep.
Okay. And the added level of security is a little different than the Boy Scouts, but still the basic principles of how to pitch a tent or how to make a shelter, fires, boiling water, purifying water, stuff like that I already had. So I always thought those were easy for me.
Can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
So you're going through the Q course.
Yeah.
What are the different 18 series MOSs? So that for those that don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you have an 18 Alpha, and that is your officer. Okay. And to be an 18 Alpha, you're a captain, and you go to an ODA, an A team, and then you progress on your career there. There's the 18 Bravo, which is the weapons guy.
Weapons sergeant.
Okay. The 18 Charlie, which is the engineer. And this is the guy that is the demolitions expert or the building expert. He can build stuff and then blow it up. You have the 18 Delta, which is your the medic on your ODA. And then you have the 18 Echo, which is your commo guy. Now, those are the core. Those are the 4 core MOSs, okay, jobs. After you've been on a team for a while, you can be selected to go to what we call O&I, Ops and Intel, all right? So you pass Ops and Intel, O&I course, and you become an 18 Fox, okay? And then after if you're lucky enough to keep on getting promoted, and you get promoted to E8, you become an 18 Zulu.
Yep.
All right. Mm-hmm. So those are the MOSs of Special Forces.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. So you were back into the Q course, phase 3, Robin Sage.
Oh, yeah, phase 3, Robin Sage. That's the culmination exercise where, you have all the captains, the 18 Alphas doing their thing, the Bravos, the Charlies, the Deltas doing their thing. And then for Robin Sage, you would come together, all right, and they would make ODAs out of all the different people in the classes, all right? So we had some guys from the Bravo committee, the Charlie committee, the Delta, the Echo committee, make a composite team, and then you are a team that goes into this denied area called Pineland, okay? And you would do your guerrilla ops, your covert operations, build a fighting force, and then the exercise would culminate with everyone coming together, and you free Pineland from the oppressive. Dude, I cannot remember who the bad guys are. The oppressive regime, right? And then Pineland is free, and everybody goes home happy. You graduate, you get your Green Beret, and then you go to your group assignment.
Nice.
Yeah. So that
Nice.
all happened in 86, 87, and part of 88. I mean, it's a long, drawn out process.
Sure.
You know, it takes a minute.
Sure.
You know?
So where did you go?
I went to beautiful Fort Devens, Massachusetts, which was the home of 10th Special Forces Group at the time. So we got to Fort Devens, and it was a very small post. There was 10th Group, an MI school, and the 39th Engineer Battalion, I think. Because, which is kind of funny. This was my second time at Fort Devens, because when I went to MI school, it was at Fort Devens the first time.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew what we were getting into. Fort Devens, it was a great little place. The base is closed. It's not there anymore. It's been turned over to the state of Massachusetts, I think, and there's still some buildings there that were once military buildings, but they've been turned over, and they're doing other things with them now. But it was a great time. I got to, the first thing you do when you get there is you go to Signal Company as an 18 Echo, and it was called a BOP, Base Operations Platoon, 1, 2, and 3. I was in BOP 1, and then I'd been there for about 8 or 9 months, and I went to a team. Mm-hmm. And the team that I got on was 7-1, which was Alpha Company 3rd Battalion 10th Group. And, you know, here's a great thing about not only being SF, but being in the Army and being a veteran, is I made those friends 35 years ago, and they're still my friends.
Yep.
Okay. When we went to a nephew's wedding in Alabama last year, I went to visit my team sergeant and his wife, who lived right outside Huntsville. You know, we guys on the team, we talk back and forth all the time.
Sure.
You know, so that is a great time. And
it's a very tight community.
It is a tight community, and I'll get into that a little later on.
Okay.
On just how tight that is. I was on 7-1, and that's who I went to Desert Storm with.
Okay.
All right. From 1981 to 1991, not a lot of action unless you were in Ranger Bat and jumping into Grenada or Panama, or the 82nd. When Grenada happened, I was in Italy, and when Panama happened, I was in 10th Group, but that was not our area of responsibility.
Correct. Europe.
All right. Ours is Europe. 7th Group was the Central and South America guys, and we're the European guys. So we didn't get invited to that party.
Right.
Which, you know, that was okay, because we got to party a couple years later.
Yep.
So we're in, it's funny how this came about. My team, you know, we'd go do thing, you know, all over the place. We'd do our field problems in England and France. And go do training, you know, all over the place. And we were at a JRTC rotation when JRTC was at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas.
Before Louisiana.
Before Louisiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Before Louisiana.
Okay.
And before Fort Polk. And we came back, or when we were coming back from the rotation, we were going to be in language school for Spanish, and we were going to assist 7th Group with the war on drugs in Central and South America.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But we get back, we go into language training, and all of a sudden, here's this guy going, Salam Alaikum. It's like, not Spanish. All right. We did 12 weeks of Arabic, because while we were at Fort Chaffee, that's when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait.
Okay.
So we did 12 weeks of Arabic language.
Mm-hmm.
which, being over 30 years ago, I've forgotten almost all of it. But we completed that. And then towards January 91, sometime in there, we went to Saudi Arabia. And we were at King Fahd International Airport.
Okay.
I believe is where it was. And my company, Alpha 310, we were the only company from 10th Group to go. No other company went. And we were attached to 1st Battalion, 3rd Group. 3rd Group had just stood up. And
Okay.
so we were attached to them. And our ODA, we went after doing all of our train up on at the airport there, which when I say the airport, we were in the parking garage. Okay, so they'd built barracks in the parking garage. We were there, and the airport was there also. And I remember that, we always, before you go over there, you hear about scuds hitting stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time that we're in there and we hear the alarm for a scud coming in, and pretty much flash to bang was not that great. So you get the alarm, and when the scud hits, it would rattle this entire parking garage like it was tiddlywinks, Lincoln Logs, shaking you around. The concussion kind of taking your breath away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they would come in and hit. Sometimes they would come in, and then the Patriot missile batteries, they would intercept. So you'd still have a big bang, all right, but it's in the air, and it's not at it's not where you live. Okay, so we did that. We got trained up, and I don't remember exactly when, but then we went to King Khalid Military City, and there we met with some Kuwaitis and some guys from 5th Group. And we had a battalion, or we had a company in what was a battalion of what was named the 1st Kuwaiti Commando Battalion.
Okay.
All right. And what it was Kuwaitis that had escaped, made their way to Saudi Arabia, regrouped, and now we were going back. And we were going to free Kuwait City.
Okay.
So we started that. And I would tell you, I had a team leader at that time. His name was Captain Robert Warburg. His nickname's Buck. I'm still friends with him, still talk to him every now and then, right? And I would tell you, he did an excellent job guiding us through the minefield on the border. Sand's blowing. You see all these little humps all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, there's a mine, there's a mine, there's a mine. Mines were everywhere. We got it through there, and then we got into Kuwait proper. And I remember seeing a huge berm, and someone telling us on the other side of the berm, where all the guards are all the Iraqi POWs. Don't tell the Kuwaitis that they're there, because
they're not going to be happy.
They're not going to be happy about it.
No.
Bad things were going to happen.
Yep.
So we just went past the berm and went into Kuwait City as soon as we could. Got into Kuwait City, and we made our base of operations, and I think it was in a hospital. We were in the hospital grounds, but inside the hospital, where I saw like the first example of just the inhumane cruelty that you could imagine. Body parts everywhere. I remember there was a 55-pound drum just full of stuff. and I was just how freaking horrible the Kuwaitis have been treated by that invading army. And I saw that stuff, and it just left a mark in me that I won't forget.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get into a lot of the details, but it was just, when I say it was, things we found there were horrible. They were horrible.
Howie, I remember you telling me that story 20 years ago.
Really?
And I don't think it had the same impact as hearing it from you now.
Well, I've had 20 years to ruminate on it.
Yeah.
And, just that the things that you see that you'll never unsee,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try, they have a they just hit you hard.
Yeah. It's a lifetime.
Even 20 years later.
A lifetime, Howie.
I know. And that's why when when I saw the pictures of the Iraqis trying to escape, and what they call it, the highway of death, right? Where the A-10s and whatever, it's just the burning bodies of the Iraqis trying to escape and stuff like that. I was like, it didn't bother me because I know what they had done.
Yep.
And
because of what you saw at the hospital.
Because what I saw at the hospital. And what we saw, not only the hospital, but the other ODAs would talk about things that they saw also. So it wasn't just us. It just wasn't my team, it was the other teams. So, there. And then, we did end up capturing some Iraqis that had managed to stay behind.
Okay.
And we turned them over. And I don't know what happened to them. I really don't care.
Yep.
Okay. I don't care. All right. I may or may not heard a few screams, but I don't care what happened to them. After seeing what had gone on there, don't care. So we came back from Desert Storm back to Fort Devens, thinking that, yay, going to have a little time off. So Saddam had also been gassing the Kurds.
Yep.
So now we were home 11 days. Basically, we cleaned our gear, did our laundry, turned around, and went back this time to Turkey.
Okay.
All right. And we flew into Incirlik. And once in Incirlik, we later flew into, we went to another staging base right on the Turkish, Syrian, Iraqi border. Can't remember the name of the town. Well, what I did in prepping for this is that I really need to look through my photo albums and organize it a whole lot better.
Preparing for this?
Preparing for this.
For the interview.
I'm going through, all right, going, there's that picture. Where are these pictures? So I need to get that organized.
At least you have some.
Yeah, I did. I mean, these were the good old days where you took a camera and, film.
Yep. Stuff
like that. So anyway, we got into northern Iraq. And there were just refugee camps everywhere. And we were I remember we were in a canyon overlooking the Zab River that flowed into or past the Hook. Beautiful area. The mountains were everywhere. Rivers, everything. Except you go up and you had the Kurdish refugees up there. And part of our job was to provide medical treatment, give them water, food. And I remember, they've been treated so bad that, the moms would have their 2 and 3-year-old malnourished kids that would be on the brink of death. And this is where SF medics, they just do wonders. You know, you have these babies that are about to die, and they get IVs, they get Similac, they get Ensure, and they bring them back to life, basically from the edge of death. You know, and I saw that so many times there. So many moms that were fearing that they were about to lose their child.
Yeah.
And that humanitarian effort was just an eye-opener, because we have it so good in America. People don't realize it. We have people that are like, yeah, this country sucks, blah, blah, blah. No. I've been to places that suck.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been to a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my book. I have a list of countries I've been to. There's about 35 or 40 in there. A lot of them are great. You think about the Germanys, the Englands, the France. Okay, great. But then you think of the places that are war-torn. The, northern Iraq that I was just telling you about. Bosnia right after its civil war. Kosovo. All these places that are just, you look at these people and your heart just goes out to them, because there's so much that they don't have that almost we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a funny story about that in a minute when I talk about my trip to Russia.
And just the evil that's just brought to these people, just the regular population.
Oh yeah,
they're not combatants. No. These are just civilian population,
innocent civilians, and the evil has come to their little corner of the world, and it's just horrible. And one of the things that I remember. So what we would do is, once we had northern Iraq established as kind of a safe spot, and Iraq was out of there, we had the no-fly zone there. So we would take the refugees out of the refugee camps and take them back to their homes in Hook or wherever they were from. And we had these deuce and a halves coming down the mountains, crappy brakes, hairpin turns, and every time that we made it down to the Hook without running off the side of the mountain, it was a thank you Jesus moment. And we would get these families, and the whole family. I mean, from grandparents to grandkids, brothers, sisters, everybody. They'd live in a small house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
generations.
Yep, generations in a house that was sometimes not more than a 15 by 15 concrete block house.
Yep.
No bathroom, no beds. All right, you slept on the floor, you ate on the floor, everything. But things that we have that they don't, that just open your eyes. And I remember one of these times I wasn't driving a deuce and a half. I had a Jeep. We still had Jeeps back then. All right. I was driving a Jeep down the mountain. I had this little kid that was I saw him on the side of the road walking, and he was 8, 9, 10 years old. I stopped and said, "You need a ride?" Or actually, he yelled at me, Mister. I said, "Yeah, stop." It was him and his big brother, Said, "You need a ride?" And he was like going, "The Hook. I said, "Yeah, I know where that is. That's where I'm going." So get him in the Jeep, and he starts climbing in. I remember he reached down in his shirt and he pulled out a cross.
Okay.
And he goes, "Hey, mister, I'm a Christian." And he goes, and I said, "Are you?" And he goes, "Are you a Christian too?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Good." And he put this cross back in. And I took him back to his house, and that just for some reason that always touched me too.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway around the world, and this kid just, it was amazing. So that is over, and we come home. And that was 91. And then we have what we called, that was Provide Comfort 1. Then we have what we call Provide Comfort 2, which we, a company at a time, would rotate from Fort Devens to Incirlik, Turkey. And at Incirlik Air Base at that time, we were doing CSAR. All right.
What is CSAR?
Combat Search and Rescue. So the Air Force, and when I say the Air Force, the U.S., the Brit, the French, like NATO air forces, they would fly and they would enforce the no-fly zone in northern Iraq.
Okay.
Well, if something happened, we were the guys that would jump on the helicopters and go rescue them.
There you go. Okay.
All right. So that's what we did. And we did that 91, 92, 93. And then in 93, Bosnia kicks off. So now we have the same guys in San Vito, Italy, an air base there, doing the same thing. So if they needed to fly over to Bosnia, they could pick up a pilot that got shot down.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember the pilot's name, but we actually did that one time.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of downtime also. All right. Because there's only like 2 ODAs on alert. We would be in language school, but, there's a lot of history in Italy. So we would go, hey, we're going to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we were going to do, me and these guys in this picture, all right, when we were there in Italy, we watched The Devil's Brigade.
Okay.
All right. And if you watch The Devil's Brigade, that's the movie about the 1st Special Service Force, the combined U.S.-Canadian unit that fought in World War II and went up Monte di Defensa, which was this mountain in the middle of this valley in Italy. And they climbed up a cliff that pretty much had never been climbed before,
mm-hmm.
and defeated the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 2 things from there. This is a picture of us from the little battlefield site we took. And then this is a rock from that battlefield.
No.
Yeah, I brought this back. So I brought 2 rocks back. This one I kept. Then we have one it was in 10th Group headquarters last time I saw that.
This is from the cliff.
Yes.
In Italy that the 1st Special Service Forces climbed.
Yes.
Dang. And that's the predecessor to the 10th Special Forces Group, just so you know.
Yep.
That is what became the 10th Special Forces Group.
It was so funny because we're talking about that, right? I was in the Sergeant Major's Academy in beautiful El Paso, Texas, right? And I pulled my camper down there, and I was staying in the RV park. So there's this old guy in the RV park. His whole job was just to walk the parking slots, and each slot had a red or green tag. And it's either red for occupied or green for open.
Okay.
That's what he did. Okay. And I saw him leaving one day, and he had the little red arrowhead on his van. So he goes, "Were you in 1st Special Service Force?" "Yeah, I was." I said, "Wow." Like I said, when I said this guy was old, this guy was old.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Well, I'm in 10th Special Forces Group. I'm down here for the Sergeant Major's Academy, but I just want to thank you for leading the way." And he goes, "Oh, I was in 10th Special Forces Group too." "Oh, really? When were you in 10th Group?" From June 1952 until, whoa, time out. You were in 10th Special Forces Group in June 1952? "Yeah." "So are you telling me you're one of the original 12? "Yeah, I'm one of the original 12. Green Berets, in 10th Special Forces Group. It was like, no way. He goes, why? So anyway, one of our requirements at the Sergeant Major's Academy is doing a report on a person, a battle, a unit, stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's like, dude, I got to talk about you. Can I interview you? Sure. Well, when would you like to do it? Oh, we can do it now. I'm going home. So, hang on. Don't move. Ran down to my camper, told Karen that I'm going to Frank Bailey's house, and we're going to talk about when 10th Group was formed. And I got to his basement, which he had his original 10th Group beret with the Trojan horse on it.
Ooh.
Okay. He had the ID card from the first German he ever shot in World War II. He had all this memorabilia. It's like, Frank, we have to do something with this, right? And he's like, yeah. I called the museum at Fort Bragg, and they said, oh, they got to have it. And I was like, no, I don't want to give it to them. I want to give it to 10th Group. So it's like, well, Frank, I'm going back to 10th Group. I can take that stuff when I go back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, I'll drive it up there one day. And I'm like, Frank, it's 500 miles. Okay. I think he was 88, 89 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'll save you the trip and I'll do it. He goes, no, I'll do it. I don't know if it ever got done. I know that he died about 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I had talked to him a couple of times after that. But whatever happened to all this stuff of his, I have no idea. But he was one of the original 12.
That's amazing.
I living in El Paso, Texas, in a house, just a unassuming old guy. Never know that he was such a badass at one time, So that was The Rock. And I looked it up. We've got this annual from 1956. This is a reproduction. But anyway, this is him. There he is. Sergeant First Class Bailey.
How awesome.
Yep. He showed me his original of this, not the reproduction that you can buy in group. He showed me the original and said, there he was. That's me. And he went through and he would tell us stories about all the officers and all the senior NCOs. And then he talked about Organization Day. And this, of course, was in Bad Pulse. And here was the grease pole.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he's the guy at the top because at the top was a Zippo lighter that was engraved with the Trojan horse from 10th Special Forces Group. And, of course, what did he do? Showed me the lighter that he had for 50 years, Okay. That was amazing. And you meet guys like that all the time. So I know we got off subject a little bit.
Okay.
But
nope. You're all right.
So I met Frank Bailey, awesome American. So, but going back to Monte de Defensa, that was 93.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came. No, this is before I came to Colorado. I'm sorry. So we had an opportunity of a lifetime in 93 to go to Russia.
Okay.
The wall had come down. We had the Partnership for Peace going on. And we had an opportunity to go to Russia and skydive because I was on a Halo team at the time.
Yep.
So I was on a Halo team, and our Halo team with a few others, we were going to go to Russia and compete actually in a skydiving competition. So you have a bunch of Halo guys from America competing against the Russian equivalent of our Golden Knights.
Okay. All right. So
not very fair.
They're pro jump team.
Yeah, and this was just post Soviet Union, so it was the Confederation of Independent States.
Okay.
So we were going against the Russians, the Kazakhstan. I mean, all kinds of different teams, right?
The Belarus.
Yeah, and we were there. I don't want to say we were goofing off. We were taking it serious, but these folks took seriousness to a higher level because, if they didn't perform, they were off the team.
Right.
But we got to go, and we flew into Moscow. And that, again, was an eye-opener. Flew into Moscow, stayed at the Olympic Village.
Okay.
From the 1980 Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then took a train from Moscow down to the Black Sea. About a 2-day trip. And train ride was just so educating because you got to see Russia outside of what we thought Russia was like.
Sure.
What we found out is the average Russian was just like the average American or average anyone. They were worried about their family. They were worried about their friends. They were worried about a roof over their head and food on the table and basically providing for their family.
Yeah.
Same things. Okay. So we would stop at train stations and we'd buy Russian food, because they were there at the train stations freaking, all the farmers were like buckets of freaking plums or apples or whatever, right? And I remember one time I got there and I gave her $1 and I just wanted a handful of plums.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she looked at the dollar and her eyes got like huge, this big, right? And she gave me the whole 5-gallon bucket, like a Home Depot bucket of plums. And I'm like trying to put them in my shirt going, what in the world am I going to do with this now, So, but luckily, there was like 20 of us on the trip. So, DFV them around, but we all had plenty of plums to eat, stuff like that. So we get to a little town called Topsay, and we competed with the Russians. Oh, let me back up. Couple of amazing things. I said we landed in Moscow. Actually went to, this was October of 93. That's what's on the back of these. So we went to the changing of the guard at Lenin's tomb. And then we always saw, like at Red Square, the big parades and stuff like that, right? Well, can't remember the name of the church. That's the famous church in the Red Square.
Mm.
All right. Then this is us. We're the ones in the gray jumpsuits and packs. But anyway, this is some of us starting to go jump out of a Russian helicopter. And our drop zone was right on the Black Sea. So what would happen is that we would get out over the Black Sea, free fall, pop our chutes, and then coast into land and land there, And it was just so great that, we were, enemies, but then all of a sudden the wall comes down. They're bringing us over. I think Boris Yeltsin was president at the time, and had this partnership for peace program, and we're skydiving with the Spetsnaz.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I tell people that we're doing, And we'd be sitting around at night saying, they were all like, so all of you, you're just like Rambo. And it's like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
Keep on believing
Every one
that.
of us.
Every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
But as a result of that trip, one of the things I got was the Russian military freefall badge. And like I've told people before, if my house catches fire, this is what I'm grabbing.
Yeah.
I always know where these are.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to hunt for these to bring them here. So that was our trip to Russia. Or our skydiving trip to Russia.
Yeah.
After that, we took a train back up to Moscow and then to St. Petersburg. And we went to the language school at the University of St. Petersburg.
Oh, wow.
And we studied Russian. I think we were there like for a semester, 12, 16 weeks. I can't remember. So we lived in St. Petersburg there. And we weren't in a dorm or a military barracks. The program that we had was every SF guy lived on the economy with a Russian family.
Okay.
So they had all been vetted, and they had all had guys in the language program staying with them before.
Okay.
And I remember the lady I lived with, she was older, and her name was Zoya. Very small apartment. Okay. But it was what they all had. So anyway, lived there with her for about 2 or 3 months, or 3 or 4 months. And it was kind of amazing because about a week before I left, maybe a few days before I left, right, I went to a Russian bakery and I got a cake. So I was like, okay, hey, I'm leaving. Let's have a little cake and ice cream.
For Zoya?
What's that?
For Zoya? The cake for Zoya?
I can't remember.
It was for you.
Oh, yeah. It was for me.
It was for you. Okay.
It was for me, but I'm sharing it with them, right?
Okay. All right.
All right. Took it to their house, you know. First thing, I opened the door and I'm holding the cake, and they're like, ah. They all felt like we were like the Ewings from Dallas, you know.
Okay.
They did. Oh, you can afford cake. Holy shit. You know, you can afford cake. Holy cow. And I remember, you know, they were talking, you know, she was asking us, I said, you know, they did their laundry in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And then hung it to dry in the bathroom. I would tell them, oh, we have 2 cars. I have one and my wife. Oh, you're kidding me. We have a microwave. Oh, you know, washer and dryer. Dude, they did not have these things.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were just like, holy freaking cow. You're rich. Like I said, you were like the Ewings on Dallas, because the 2 most popular TV shows over there were Dallas and Santa Barbara. Remember that one?
No.
I don't either. I did. It was, you know, I was alive when it was on, but I didn't watch it. So anyway, but they were like, oh my gosh, you're so rich. And it's like, oh, only if you knew. It's not that I'm rich. It's that you owe. You know. So anyway, went to Russia, and that was quite an experience. Learned a lot about Russian history, stuff like that. Just had a great time over there. And then we came back, 94. 94, I moved to Colorado. All right. I was the active duty advisor to Bravo Company 5th Battalion 19th Group for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
That's the only time I was never in 10th Group from 1988. Little time being an advisor. All right. Little time in the Sergeant Major's Academy. Other than that, luckiest guy in the world. I was in 10th Group my entire SF career.
Cool.
All right. It was cool, as you know.
I do know.
I'm going to say now, I've known Steve for over 20 years. All right. We've been great friends for a long time. We have. And I love him like a brother. All right. We're neighbors. We both live in the beautiful town of P-Dub.
Yep.
So
just down the street from each other.
Just down the street from each other.
For a long time.
Yeah. Long time. Yep. So anyway, And I made a lot of good friends in Bravo, not only Bravo Company 519, but the Battalion 519, that are still friends today.
So is 519, they're here in Colorado?
Mm-hmm.
Where's, I thought they were in Utah at one point.
So 19th group, the group headquarters is in Utah.
Okay, group headquarters.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
The battalion headquarters is east of Denver, in a place called Watkins. It's called the Watkins Armory. Well, it was the Watkins Armory. It was renamed after Dan Romero, that was killed in Afghanistan about 20 years ago.
Okay.
All right. That Bravo Company's here. I think Charlie Company's here. Alpha Company might be somewhere else. I can't remember. But anyway, made a lot of good friends. And most of those guys lived in Pueblo, like you and I.
Okay.
We're in Pueblo West. So, we all live in Pueblo West together, and we see each other pretty often. And we'll get to the why in a little while. And then went back to 10th group in 87.
97.
97, yeah.
97.
97, yes. Been in group about 9 years. Went to O&I school, the Operations Intelligence, on my way back to 10th group. And then became a team sergeant. Got promoted to master sergeant, E8. And spent some time in Bosnia and in Kosovo.
Mm-hmm. You were still in 3rd Battalion then?
I was still in 3rd Battalion then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was in 3rd Battalion, 10th group.
Yep.
And then we were still doing all the rotations and stuff like that. And then in 2001, January 2001, came around and was selected to be the first sergeant for Group Support Company. And did that for 2.5 years.
Yep.
And one of the responsibilities of GSC was running the intermediate staging base, the ISB, that we had in Stuttgart, Germany. And I would fly over there about once a quarter, check on everyone, see what you needed, stuff like that. I remember flying over there on September 10th. Got over there the morning of September 11th.
Oh.
And who was the NCOIC of the ISB at that time? He was Sergeant First Class, and he was from the DFAC.
Wings? No.
Wings, white guy. Had like a Brooklyn or Long Island accent or something like that. Smart guy. He was over there working on his master's degree or PhD. I can't remember. But anyway, he and I were out buying paint and stuff like that for the ISB and everything. Of course, German radio was on, and we heard what had happened. It's like, what? So we got back real quick. Remember Corey Dennis?
Yes.
Yes. You know he's a sergeant major now?
Mm.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah, he called me about a year and a half ago. He goes, we did it. What do we do? We got selected for sergeant major. I said, no, I've been selected for sergeant major a while. You got selected for sergeant major. He goes, yeah, but I never could have done it without you. And we had a great talk. But anyway, he goes, hey, you need to come see this. So we went up to the TV room. And so the first World Trade Center on fire. And I had been standing there about 10 seconds when we saw the second one go in. And I looked at Corey and I said, this is not an accident. This is not a mistake. And then we start hearing about Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon. And I grabbed the crew together and it's like, guys, we are under attack. All right. You know, that was 9/11. All air traffic had stopped. So anyway, Colonel Cleveland, later Lieutenant General Cleveland, was over there along with Command Sergeant Major Rick Fitzgerald. And all air traffic stopped.
Yep.
You know, couldn't fly anywhere. So anyway, I was over there a little longer than I had expected, but you know, when we came back, we were on the first flight out of Stuttgart to Atlanta. And I remember the path for the airplane. You know, it leaves Stuttgart, goes, you know, you go over Iceland, Greenland, whatever, come down over Newfoundland. We flew over New York City. And I could look out the window and the World Trade Center was still smoking. And that pissed me off, you know. So, you know, a couple months later, fifth group went in.
Yep.
And then we went to Romania and then flew into northern Iraq and did Operation Thor's Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And stayed there for the next 15 years. Well, some people did. I didn't. I retired in 2007. But Iraq was, something else. The things that I told you about in Kuwait City, you go some areas in Iraq where it was Shia versus Shiite or Shiite versus Christian, and you could see those same things again.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the thing is, I told you about the influence that John Wayne's Green Berets had on me, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things is that when they're doing the Gabriel demonstration, Master Sergeant Muldoon, who I wanted to be like, you know, Aldo Ray, damn, that guy was something else. It was like, you know, when I got promoted to Master Sergeant, it was kind of like, whoa, this is it. I'm like Master Sergeant Muldoon now, you know. But anyway, they're giving the Gabriel demonstration, and David Jansen asked him some sort of, you know, question because he was like being the jackass reporter from the media, you know. And I will never forget, he looked at him and goes, a soldier goes where he's told to go, and he fights who he's told to fight. So that's what we were doing in Iraq, Kuwait, wherever. We just went where we were told to go, and we fought who we were told to fight. So anyway, you look around Iraq, and it's like, man, are we on the right side here? But, you know, it's not my decision to make. So anyway, then I retired in 2007. I went to, my last trip to Iraq was in 2006. And I was the Sergeant Major of Alpha Company 2nd Battalion. My only time in 2nd Battalion was as a company Sergeant Major.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I thought, you know, everyone I took over there came back. All right. We had very successful body count, very successful on our operations. It's probably time to end this on a high note. So that's what I decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I put in for retirement, and I retired.
After how many years?
26.
26 years of service.
26 years of fun that I would do all over again. You know, you see these guys, I mean, you see them in the waiting room of hospitals. You see them in Walmart. They're wearing their, you know, veteran stuff, which we all do. Okay. I think one of the reasons we wear it is not necessarily for our pride, but it is a bit, but so I can pick you out.
Mm-hmm.
So I can pick that person out and I can say, oh, thank you for your service, something like that. I do that where you and I live all the time.
Yep.
You know, I see somebody, I always thank them for the for service. So I retired. And of course, when you retire, the feeling is just ecstatic of, woo, I'm done. I'm going to retire. Well, and after 2 or 3 days, you get bored.
It's hard for a veteran. You spend so long with all these people.
I think the longer you spend in the Army, the more difficult it is. And it was difficult for me because I'm like, yeah, what am I going to do now? So the first thing I did is I worked for a gentleman named David Gillums in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, as a wrangler and a guide for backcountry outfitters. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. You know, I'm on horseback in the Rocky Mountains every day.
Mm-hmm.
How bad could it get? Well, the doctor from my retirement physical called and said, hey, what you doing? Not much. How about you? Yeah. Has anyone ever told you about your heart problems? No. I didn't know I had any heart problems. Yeah, and you have some high blood pressure too. So whatever you're doing, you got to stop until we get it fixed. So I had to go see some cardiologists and stuff, and they were like, yeah, might have been a false reading. I don't know. But, it didn't rise back up for about another 15 years. I thought I was doing good. But anyway, so he said, yeah, you don't need to be at high altitudes because of the lack of oxygen up there. You don't need to be doing stressful work because your heart right now can't take it. So I'm like, crap, what am I going to do now? So I remembered a guy that said, hey, when you retire, if you ever need a job, give me a call. So I called him. All right. And the job I had was working for First Army. They were stationed in Atlanta at the time. The base is closed, I think. I don't remember what the name of it was. But they had what they called the Senior Mentor Program. And they would take a general officer and a sergeant major, get us together, and then we would go spend time with National Guard and Reserve units that were getting ready to deploy to make sure that all their staff procedures and stuff like that were running smoothly. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I kind of got a little long in the tooth there because they wanted people that had been in country more recently than me.
Oh, you're starting to build up some time.
I was, like I say, I've been like 2 years away.
Okay.
I hadn't deployed like in 3 years, and they started coming out with new operating systems and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I was getting a little tired of that job anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, did another job, and then just got tired of traveling. So I looked into gunsmithing school at Trinidad State.
Which is how far away from Pueblo?
About 90 miles.
So, yeah, back to traveling.
It's not like going to CSU or Pueblo Community College. It's like, but they're one of the only 4 or 5 schools in America with a gunsmithing program. And that's what I wanted to do, because I told you earlier about how much I adored my grandparents. My grandfathers, both of them, all right, I don't want to say they were tinkerers, but, back then, when you're born and go through the Depression, you don't throw anything away and go get another one. You fix what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always working on fixing stuff, building stuff or something, right? And of course, so then hanging out with them, I did too.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was the same way, freaking, if your lawnmower doesn't start, you take the carburetor apart, clean it, put it back together, and start it. You just didn't go buy a new lawnmower. So anyway, I went to summer school at Trinidad State. I liked it and decided that I wanted to go to school part-time there. So I got accepted into the program and did 2 years, their 2-year program, and graduated. And the funny thing is, I work down there part-time now. They have a program where TACOM, which is Tank and Automobile Command,
Okay.
they want all their LARs, logistical assistance representatives, to get a certificate in gunsmithing because they do small arms repair and stuff like that. So Trinidad State said, "Yeah, we'll do it." So, and then TACOM says, "Great." And then Trinidad State goes, "Who are we going to get to do it?" And then they're like, "Hey, let's get that sergeant major that came through here a few years ago and see if he wants to do it." So they called me, and it's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So again, I'm teaching military people through this program. Absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun because in SF, teaching is one of the things we do. So I got my accreditation and stuff through Trinidad State and teach. So that's all good, and I do that a few times a year, and it's a lot of fun. But gunsmithing school, after I graduated, I decided to open my own gun shop, which
Had a couple here in Pueblo.
Yeah, I did. Successful, had a lot of fun, but then started having some medical issues, my back and my heart. And it's like, I really don't think I need this stress in my life anymore. So I closed up and decided to retire. Had a great run at it, but now I teach at Trinidad and stay at home. I'm a stay-at-home husband, I guess, because my wife works. And travel. We travel together. She can work from home. So when I need to travel, she travels with me and works from wherever we are. We have a great time.
Yeah.
So that is where I am in life right now.
It's so awesome, Howie.
Thanks.
I appreciate you telling that story. So you really did a good job of going through all the questions that I was going to ask you.
I told you I was going to prepare for you.
You did.
You didn't have to say anything, hardly, did you?
Hardly.
I know.
Hardly anything. So a couple questions.
Yep.
I'm going to just throw these in. How many grandchildren do you have now?
I have 4. I have one grandson. His name is Braden, and he's 12. He will be a teenager in about 6 weeks. And then I have 3 grandgirls. My son Matt has Braden, and then Kendall and Harper, with Kendall being the oldest granddaughter, Harper being the youngest, and then my daughter Michelle and her husband have Ava. And she is a little gymnast, and she's 6, 6.5. And all of them are just, a pleasure to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, going back, I have my 2 kids that were born in Italy, and then I have 4 grandkids, which I just, I adore them too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get to see them as often as I would like to, but I still get to. And that's the great thing about being retired is, if you want to go see them, load up and go.
There you go. That's what you do.
That's what we're doing in a few weeks. Well, I have a niece getting married, but we'll see them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see my grandson on Wednesday because my son and I are going to go hunting down in southern New Mexico. He lives outside of Albuquerque, and my daughter lives outside Atlanta. They both used to live like 10 minutes away, but job opportunities took them away.
Yep.
So he can't be mad at them, because they're doing what's best. And then also I can't be mad at them because I did the same thing to my parents.
Yep.
Yep. I moved away in 1981 and never moved back, because we enjoy living in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to Georgia, especially visiting my wife's brother. He lives down in South Georgia, and good Lord, man, the humidity down around Fort Stewart and stuff like that. Not a fan.
Nope. Stay here.
No,
It's nice here in Colorado.
It is. People say, when are you going to move back? And it's like, if you were to come visit us, you would be moving here.
Exactly.
And another reason is I have got lifelong professional friends here. Okay. I told you I would get into this. So when we talk about post-retirement and how you keep in touch, I joined the Special Forces Association before I retired.
Here you go. I was going to ask you about the association.
Yep. And I've been in the association over 20 years. All right. As a life member. They had the Special Forces Association at Fort Devens and stuff like that, and you would always go to their functions, but really didn't go to their meetings that often, right? But in 2003, I joined, became a life member. And then after I retired in 2007, started going very regularly, which is very good for all retirees, because what I have found out, and this is just me, all right, you retire, the biggest thing you miss is being around the guys you work with.
Yep.
All right. So what the Special Forces Association does is, at a minimum, once a month, you go to a meeting and you get to reconnect with the guys that you've known, some since Fort Devens. Okay. And I've been in Colorado 30 years now, 29 years, almost 30. And so these are guys that I have known 35 years that we still connect once a month.
Yeah.
We just had it last Saturday, Chuck Berman. We've known each other. We were in Alpha 310 together at Fort Devens. All right. We still talk about those things that we did at Fort Devens. We talk about an awesome sergeant major that we had, J.J. Maribel. We called him Papa Smurf. Great American, lives in Maryland now. Hi, Papa Smurf. I'm going to send you the link. Just you have these lifelong friends that you get to see once a month. Plus, the SFA, we help each other. We help veterans and stuff like that. So it's, a lot of people think, well, it's just freaking getting together, drinking beer once a month. No, we have sent financial aid to families in Lanai, Hawaii. Okay. We have people that go to the homes of shut-ins and people that can't get around that much anymore. Mm-hmm. Take them out for coffee, just visit with them, stuff like that. We check on the older guys. My best friend is 11 years older than me, lives up in Florissant, Colorado. He was Mac V SOG.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. He was a 19-year-old badass in Vietnam. Okay. A 19-year-old, first lieutenant leading SOG operations, hatchet force operations in Vietnam. And I've known him since we moved to Colorado. I've known him for 30 years. And, my best friend, but, one of the things we do, I'm going to call or text you every day to make sure you're okay.
Yep.
Make sure you need anything, just let me know. and I'll drop what I'm doing and I'll come help you. Those are some of the things we do in the SFA. We give money. We gave money to a unit that was deployed so they could just buy Lickies and Chewies and PX stuff, send them stuff like that. I was the president of the chapter here in Colorado for 5 years. And I had 2 outstanding vice presidents, Joe Cole and Don Bennett. I know you know Don,
I remember
right?
Chief Bennett.
Chief
He used to play
Bennett.
hockey with him.
Yes, indeed. In fact, every meeting we sit next to each other. We plan trips. We had a great time because another thing that we do in the SFA is we sponsor the JROTC Awards, not only for the state of Colorado, but our reach goes to high schools up in Wyoming, down in New Mexico to Arizona. And we even have a high school back in Massachusetts that reaches to us. So we give them awards. Sweet. And Don and I spend time together going up to Casper, Wyoming and giving that award. It's a long way up there, long way back. Maybe take a side trip by the Cody Museum or the Yellowstone National Park. But, good time up there. So that's one of the things we do, or I do. Okay. The other thing I do, Special Forces Motorcycle Club. And it is, again, a great organization. All right. Some people watch a little too much Sons of Anarchy, and when they see us going down the road, they think we're like dealing guns with the Irish or whatever, right? But no, we don't do that. We raise money for the veterans' homes in Walsenburg, Florence, and Pueblo. All right. We also raise money for extraneous circumstances. Like we had a guy commit suicide back in June. All right. And he was a retiree. So, once you commit suicide, the wife and children don't have benefits anymore.
Right.
Okay. So last October 7th, we had a 3-gun shoot at Cactus Flat Shooting Range in Penrose. Don Day is the manager, and he does a great job of helping us run a 3-gun shoot. So we have pistol, rifle, shotgun, and we raffled off a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave all the proceeds to the widow. We raised $7,000 for her.
That's awesome.
So she has $7,000 now to offset whatever expenses she has, because she has 2 small kids and a teenage daughter from the guy that committed suicide from his previous wife. So Special Forces Motorcycle Club, we do stuff like that all the time. We went on a toy run with the VFW Warriors and some of the other Southern Colorado motorcycle clubs and filled up a truck bed full of toys that kids are going to get this year so that no child does not get a Christmas present.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. So those are the 2 main organizations that I deal with now. All right. I was the president of the SFA for 5 years. That was enjoyable. Loved it. And now I'm the vice president of our Southern Colorado chapter of the Special Forces Motorcycle Club. And like I say, we do a buttload of fundraising and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not only that, we go to funerals because no one should be buried without someone there. A lot of stuff like that.
That's awesome, brother.
Thanks.
I noticed, I came over to your house the other day.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've been over there, but I noticed it's like a Special Forces museum in your place. Just, it's so amazing, and I love it. Yes, it is.
it is kind of a SF museum, but that's been my life.
Yep.
You know, it's, and you never quit being special forces. All right. Never, ever. Just like you never, ever quit being in the Army. You may ETS, you may retire, but you never quit being in the Army because you learn things that you take with you for the rest of your life.
I agree.
Yep. Crap. I don't know about you, but like when Karen and I go out to eat with some friends, all right, and we're looking at tables, I am looking at what area is defensible, where are the exits,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yep.
You don't ever quit doing stuff like that. But yeah, my house is kind of an SF museum. Yeah, It is.
I love it.
I'm my own interior decorator.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
It is. Yeah, but and I was laughing because you had your daughter with you, and she was like, "My daddy said, in case of apocalypse, this is where I need to come."
Okay, that's not a joke. Just so you know, that's not a joke. Those kids have known
that you run to Howie's house.
They know exactly where it is. It's right across from Walmart. It's right over there. It's the
Next
first
to the
green
big
house.
R, yep.
It's the Special Forces looking house. They've always known. And they're supposed to knock on the door and say, "Hi, I'm Bundy's son. I'm looking for Sergeant Major Massingill." They've known that.
They've known that for a while.
A long time.
So hilarious.
Yep. If it hits the fan, that's where we're meeting.
That's where we're meeting.
It's a rally point.
Going to Howie's house.
Yep. Howie, do you got anything else you'd like to add? This video is going to be posted to YouTube, and it's going to be, available for not just your family, but for us and all future generations, for folks that maybe don't know anything about the military or the service. Anything you'd like to share?
I hope what you have gathered from this, or what the people have gathered from this, is that military is an honorable profession. I remember being at an event somewhere one time, and this lady asked me, "What do you do?" She was like, I said, "Well, I'm in the Army." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, why? Dude, this is the most honorable of professions. If I don't feel sorry for myself, you shouldn't feel sorry for me. I loved being in the Army. I loved going to work every day. Even on the bad days, I loved going to work. And, if you're a young high school kid out there, don't know what to do with your life, there's nothing wrong with being in the military. I have two nephews in the military right now. Okay. Continuing to serve. Our family's been serving since before America was a country. I've got a great whatever grandfather that fought the British in the Revolutionary War and moved to Texas, fought for the Texas War of Independence. It's an honorable profession, and never, ever be ashamed telling anyone you were in the military. Never, ever. All right. I say, I loved it, and you should love your time. Whether you do 3 years or 30 years, you should love every minute of being in the military. It's a challenge that you will never, ever see anywhere else. All right. But you are going to make friends that are going to be lifelong. You really are. You see those old guys, I get choked up sometimes watching those old guys, like from Band of Brothers, and they have their reunions, and they're like 100 years old now, and they all meet up at D-Day.
Yeah.
Once a year. A few left. I know, looking at me now, you'd never know that I ran a marathon. And I ran, when I was at the El Paso at the Sergeant Major's Academy, I ran the Baton Death March Memorial Marathon that they have at White Sands Missile Range. And they had baton survivors there.
Wow.
And just continuing to honor those guys and our past, It's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Never be ashamed you're in the military. Never be ashamed of what you did in the military, and honor those before you. Don't ever forget them. What else?
No, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I had fun.
You, the men and women of the 10th Special Forces Group, really hold a very, very special place for me.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
It's something that I can't let go. I was there 11 years.
Yeah.
It was a long time. It's one of them units that once you're in it, you're in it for a very long time.
You can be there a long time.
I've worked with lots and lots of folks from the dining facility.
Yep.
GSC 310. But it's something that just plays a big role in my life even today. You know what I mean? Even
absolutely.
Today, I still think about the responsibilities and challenges that were put on it, and understand Special Forces is different, especially for a young soldier coming in a support role.
Mm-hmm.
It is very different. You're given responsibilities that aren't normally given to somebody that's in such a low rank or in such a position. And I take a lot of the things that was part of my life from then, and I use them today to better myself and continue to try to be a better person. So all I can say is thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for having me here today. I've had a blast. I've had such a fun time.
I'm glad you could tell your stories.
I'm glad I could too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. And what's fun is telling them to someone that actually understands them.
I love to hear them. Yeah. I love to hear them. Because as you're telling your stories, I can remember. I remember when we went to Romania. I remember so I actually think when we went in 2003, I actually think I flew into Iraq just before you.
You did.
A plane or two before you, a day or so.
Yeah. I was one of the last guys to fly into Iraq because my job was making sure everybody got out of Romania. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As the GSC first sergeant, then it was making sure everyone got out of Romania, but all the teams had what they needed. They flew in that ugly baby route, that we called it, and got into Erbil, or wherever they needed to go. We built Camp Loki while we were there. So yeah, you got there before me because I was like last guy. I was literally out of the 10th group guys. I was like the last 10th group guy, one of the last plane loads.
We were waiting for our first sergeant to get there.
Yeah, I know. So then we got there and built that camp, built Camp Loki, literally from nothing. It was a green field that you could see. I don't remember how far Erbil it was from Turkey, but it was green to those mountains in the distance. They were.
All the way.
Green as green could be.
It's not what I imagined Iraq to look like.
So, yes, let's talk about that for a minute. My first time was in southern Iraq.
Yep.
Okay. Kuwait, stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay. The desert part. We finished that, and 2 weeks later, we're in Incirlik. Then we're in another little town. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't. And then we fly into northern Iraq. And I fly into northern Iraq. And it's just like going to the mountains over here.
Yep.
It's like going to the wet mountains over here, You got these freaking big rivers. You got big, huge mountains, green fields. Now, the funny part was we would get with the Kurds. Well, it's not too funny. We get with the Kurds, and they're like, yeah, don't go walking through there. Don't go walking through there. Don't go walking through there.
Yep.
Well, why? Because that's where the minefields are. So, okay. So we were on a edge of a canyon looking down to the Zab River. And there was like trails going down, So we just had to be careful where we would step because they told us, where not to go. And I remember there was one or two guys that stepped on a mine. The guy lost his leg from the knee down, and another guy got his back sprayed with shrapnel. And this was in 91 during Provide Comfort. I can't remember their names. But yeah, you get up there and, it's almost like Colorado. You have the plains, and then all of a sudden you have the mountains. It was the same way in Iraq. You have the desert, and then you get up north and boom.
Yep.
There's the mountains. And I was the same way. We get to Erbil, where we were at Camp Loki, and it's like, dude, where'd all this green stuff come from?
It was green. I was floored.
And it was like the rainstorms we would get. I mean, the rain, just rain and rain and rain. Oh my gosh, it was something else. But yeah, the things that you see. Like I said, I've been to about 40 different countries, and the things that you get to see, not only like that stuff, the different climates and stuff like that. Well, you do get to see different climates because I remember when we were at Fort Devens, we go do our winter warfare training up in freaking Quebec, because obviously Massachusetts in the dead of winter wasn't cold enough.
Let's go to Quebec.
So let's go to Quebec.
Fishing in Quebec.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you what. You know what else is in Quebec? Wolves. Big wolves. So you're out there doing your winter warfare survival training, right? And you hear the howl of a gray wolf, or a timber wolf, whatever they have up there. And I would tell you that it's like, as my granddaughter would say, that's scary. And so, those were also fun trips. Going there. Going to London. Going to Scotland. Going to Iceland. Staying there overnight and having dinner, which consisted of whale steak and deep fried eagle, because you're not going to get that here in America, at a restaurant shaped like a Viking ship.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like, who else from my little town of 6,000 people in Northwest Georgia can say, yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going, tracing the steps of so many warriors ahead of you,
Yeah.
Going into the Colosseum in Rome, or like I say, Monte di Defensa, where, the first special service force first made their name in climbing that cliff face, and this rock, and killing the Germans, stuff like that. Just,
do you remember the dogs in Romania?
Oh gosh,
that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was really weird.
It was really weird.
Dogs in Romania are like wild.
Yeah,
they're
wild dogs,
but they look like your pet dog.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're wild.
They'll chase you down.
I remember when we would brief the troops coming in to Romania at the airport, when they would come in, we'd be like, make sure you get a stick. Get a stick and carry a stick, because you gotta keep the dogs away, because they will attack. It was weird.
Another funny thing we saw in Romania is, the row of hotels that we stayed in. So me and the company commander stayed in one, and we had to go down to another hotel to pick up someone else one time. We're going down, drop him off because it was after work, turn around coming back, and we look in the doors of a hotel, and there's a guy walking with a tiger. Yeah, orange, black, growly kind of thing. Walking with a tiger, and my My boss goes, Howie, did you see that? He was walking a tiger. This guy had, obviously rich, had a hotel, and he was walking through the foyer of the hotel with a freaking tiger. Again, things you see.
So some of the rooms at the hotel, because we were on the Black Sea.
Yep.
I thought all the hotels were like all bought out, but some of them still had guests.
Had guests in them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And guests with tigers.
I thought so too. I thought, oh, we bought all these up. No.
I wonder if it's a service tiger.
Could be.
It's probably the only way you get away with it here.
Yeah. Then let's see. Other funny stuff I've seen. The tiger, it was like holy cow! Because you think about that scene from Apocalypse Now, right, where Chef gets off the boat and a tiger jumps in and he goes, "It's a tiger! It's a tiger!" And he goes, like, "Never get off the boat! Never get off the boat!" It was like, looking, it's a tiger. Don't go in that hotel. Don't go in that hotel.
Not that one.
No.
Did you go from hotel to hotel to hotel to find out which one had the best breakfast?
No, because ours was pretty doggone good.
They were all good.
They were all good.
Oh my
and here's
God.
the thing. Not only were all the breakfasts good, but the dinners, once we got there for dinner, they were also so awesome. And, the Romanian host were great because, sometimes I'd work till 9, 10 at night, and I would go in and they would cook something for you. If if dinner was over, it didn't matter. You walk in and they were like, yeah,
took care of you.
We'll take care of you. But those were, it was a fun time.
Awesome stuff.
Oh, so we're in our bill, right? And the initial, Thor's hammer's like over. We've won the North at the time, right? Had a invitation from some high-ranking Kurdish leader to come up to his villa and have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to be up there at such and such time. So I can't remember who all went. I went and 3 or 4 other guys. Right? We were in one of the little vans and we went up there. So we're sitting around. They have all kinds of hors d'oeuvres around here, right? And we're like eating. They might have a little Heineken there. They might have a little Johnny Walker there. And we're eating all these snacks. And I was like, man, we're getting pretty full. And then we're looking at our watches and it's like, getting kind of late. Probably need to go. So we go tell the host, I think we're going to head back to Camp Loki. He goes, what do you mean? We haven't had the feast yet. And I'm looking at this huge ass table. Going, I'm about to burst, and you're telling me we haven't had the feast yet. So it's like, okay, I guess we're going to wait. Steve, they brought out stuff on platters, like whole fish, whole ducks, whole chickens, lambs, rice, all this food. And it's like, oh, now this is the feast. If I'd known we were going to have this,
I wouldn't have eaten
have had all that.
Right.
Smoked salmon, just you name it, they had it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now I understand.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big deal. So, they're like, oh, yeah, thank you for coming, blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember who it was. I know it was somebody freaking important. I can't remember names anymore. But that was a fun time from up there, too. Then just watching Kurds find a car on the side of the road that you would think would be best suited in a junkyard somewhere. Dude, working their asses off. And like 3 days later, all of a sudden you hear the engine turning, it coughs, it sputters, and next thing you know, they're freaking driving it away.
That's what you were taught.
I know. That's what I was taught too. So, and watching them do that, wow, that's amazing.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah, pretty rad. It is. Kosovo, going from Kosovo to Macedonia, doing little supply runs down there. Those were always fun. Had some of my guys get ambushed in Bosnia one time. Then, in Iraq, we talked about Camp Loki and stuff, and then being the Siege-Sotif J3 Sergeant Major for operations during one rotation.
Siege-Sotif. Combined Joint Special Operations
Task Force dash AP, Arabian Peninsula.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Because then there was also dash A, which was Afghanistan, and then AP was Arabian Peninsula. So then, we were in Balad, Camp Anacondas, I think was the name of it. We would take Katyusha rocket fire freaking every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that really wasn't, fun, if you will.
I remember Balad.
Yeah, just taking rockets, getting shot at from outside the wire, not being able to shoot back. I remember me and a good friend of mine, his name's Matt Bessler. We got off shift, and it's like, let's go to the PX, because felt like going to the PX. We weren't ready to go to bed. Driving the ring road,
the outside,
that inside the wire, but we're all the way outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just driving along. All of a sudden, freaking tracers bouncing off the road in front of us, and we're like, can't even go to the freaking PX without somebody shooting at you.
That was weird because you get used to the life.
You do.
You get used to it.
I mean, you do. You get. I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way. You get used to people trying to kill you.
Yep.
You do. All right. And I think that's part of the problem veterans have when they return, because here you are, one day it's like people are trying to kill you. I remember flying in and out of Balad or in and out of Tyagi or in and out of the green zone, and the helicopters or the airplanes, they take off, and dude, you're like flying map of the earth and trying not to get shot out of the air, right? And then next thing you know, you're in just sitting, nothing's happening, and that adrenaline that you had for so long now is gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that lack of adrenaline. There's another thing. You're going to have friends that die, whether in combat, by accident, or by suicide.
Yep.
And that's hard. Okay. I had, when I was a company sergeant major, had a young staff sergeant. He rose to be sergeant major, the same company, Alpha 210. And he was shot and killed in Iraq or Afghanistan. I can't remember. It's just like you have friends that are going to die.
Yeah.
We don't like it. You don't want our friends to die. It's like Patton said, you want the other guys to die for their country. But, it's one of those hard things to get through. And I know, because I've talked to guys about this, why did I survive and this person die? I don't have an answer for that. And some guys have survivor's guilt, but my son went to CSU Pueblo, and he was a field artillery officer before he got out. He went to Iraq. He went to Afghanistan. He had friends die. My son-in-law was a cav captain, and he had friends die. We've all in our circle of friends, we've all had people die. I mean, we had in GSC, I can't remember his
Mickey
name.
Zahn.
Mickey Zahn die.
Yep.
We had
We lost Whistler.
Yep. But our thing is, we can't forget them, because as long as we always remember them and honor their memory, they're always with us.
Yep. I agree.
Okay. All right.
I talk to Mickey's mom often.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. A lot of us do.
Good.
Yep.
I talk to Melissa about twice a year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Hey, brother, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Howie, I love you, brother.
Love you too, Steve.
You are my family.
You're doing great stuff here. I want you to know that.
I'm trying.
You are.
I do appreciate it.
You do. Thanks.
De oppresso liber, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great interview.
Good.
So we'll wrap this. We're wrapped now.
All right.